Now, there is no Bob here, and the Giants cause terror, so that could be pretty nice. A big terror bomb, maybe with Burning Head even, to have the discourage effect.
Yeah, I think so. He'll need to get enough damage on the stone trolls though, and that's going to rely on these Marauder horsemen, throwing their axes at them, or the skin wolves to charge him in the back. But battle's getting underway. We're beginning off with a pretty nice skirmish phase, and greenskins seem to have a nice advantage here, given their higher quantity of ranged missile units and the extra range on top of them.
hmm And this is kind of why Greenskin Skirmish Cav is so good. It's just so cheap that you can outnumber people very easily and trade with them and trade upwards with them, while also maybe even using your extra Skirmish Cav to go get chip damage somewhere else. Now, they aren't going to do a ton of damage by any means, but, you know, the damage they do get will be nice, and it's relatively free. It's hard to contest.
Yeah, although they do what they have in skirmish potential, they lack on the actual melee front, and they'll often be getting pushed back by these skin wolves. Uh, Although it is there are quite a few trade-offs. The skin wolves will be taking a lot of damage to push back the wolf rider archers, and if they actually lose models here, that could be big. Now, Spider Summon actually getting countercharged by Marauder Horsemen. How do you feel about this play? It looks like they're about to get routed.
Well, there are 5 charges of it, and this is going to be a very quick game. But at the same time, I mean, it's on cooldown now, so I'm not entirely sure if I agree with that play. Might have been a little bit better to hold on to it and wait for the main engagement to start, but we'll have to see. It does look like the main engagement is going to be starting right now, and
And an inopportune time
in
for
an
another
opportune
lag
time for
spike.
lag.
But it does buy us time to go over some more details.
I
With
do
this,
think Norska can probably overwhelm this flank right now. This left flank of the Greenskins, right flank of the Norskins. It seems like it's, the Savage Orc Biggins are taking a lot of damage, and there are Skin Wolves right there that can help. Now, this is a really ugly, big blob fight right in the center. Ooh, this is going to be a huge Burning Head.
and it goes right through a bunch of savage orcs, hitting routing one off instantly and bringing one down about a third of its HP. But the left flank for the greenskins is holding, so perhaps they can help in the center fight.
Yeah, this is definitely an ugly game so far, but the Savage Orc Biggins, I mean, they're getting melted down so quickly, and the Stone Trolls really need them for the tankiness, because obviously Stone Trolls, Monstrous Infantry in general, don't do very well when they're actually getting hit.
Yeah,
The
and
Goblin Big Boss is also, it looks like terror routing, which is definitely not ideal for the Greenskins.
at the moment, right now, it's looking like Norska is definitely pulling ahead in this engagement. Their Marauder Horsemen are putting in a little bit of damage, but even without the help, things seem to be going pretty well. Also, a very important thing to note is that these Stone Trolls will do much worse without a bunch of Savage Orcs around them, because the surrounded leadership debuff will cause them to rout rather easily.
Yeah, and Balance of Power is pulling in favor of the Norskins as well. Now, the Norskins are losing the Marauder support, but obviously that isn't nearly as important as the Savage Orc Biggins. And another Savage Orc Biggin gets routed off by another Burning Head. Those casts have been really nice.
Yeah, it has taken out the big guns, and that's the main support for the Stone Trolls. But there's not a lot of infantry left on the Norskin side either. And these giants are taking a lot of damage. I think it's going to depend on whether or not this Arachnorok's queen actually gets routed off or not.
And their leadership is not great, and it's getting peppered down by the Marauder Horsemasters. Skarsnik is actually terror routing. The Stone
Ooh,
Trolls are
that
also
is big.
terror routing. This is definitely not looking good for the Greenskins right now. I think maybe they went a little too narrow. I'm not entirely sure if I like the Stone Troll choice in this matchup, actually. And I think it's a pretty nice build from Valkonos. The Double Giant is pretty difficult for the Greenskins to deal with if they don't have a lot of archers. So,
Yeah, and not to mention those burning heads definitely played a huge part in this battle.
Yeah,
This
definitely.
Fimir has 42 kills and over 1,300 damage in value, and
Ooh,
that's
that's
gonna be
nice.
game.
Yep,
First
game one
one.
going to Valkonos.
Yeah. So let's see. We can go ahead and update the scoreboard, and yeah, pretty contested game. I feel like a lot of that came down to that center fight, while everything else sort of traded evenly. Like the infantry traded each other out, the skirmishers sort of countered each other and did about the same amount of damage. And it was just the giants that really came out on top in the center with Throg support.
Yeah, the Throg double giant goon squad. You don't see that terribly often, but it's definitely good in a blob fight like that when they're all watching each other's backs. Well, I'm a little bit concerned for the Skaven simply because the Greenskins have such a mobility advantage, and the Skaven actually have nothing to shoot back. Like, the Skaven Slave Slingers can shoot back, but I mean, they're not going to really do anything. And the Poison Wind Globadiers are heavily outranged, so if the Greenskins want to, they can just pick apart like the Plague Monks and the other low armor targets with all of their mobility ranged and deny any frontline fighting until all of those lightly armored troops are cleaned up. Now, I'm not sure if Valkonos will do that, but if he does, I think the Greenskins might be at an advantage just from the get-go here.
Yeah, and it's looking that is definitely quite a large threat that I missed earlier. I'm not sure if Skaven will be able to defend against those skirmishers just shooting the Hell Pit, or the Doom Wheel for that fact. But at least the Doom Wheel has high armor, so we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I definitely would like to see the Greenskins target the Plague Monks just because they'll lose models and they're very lightly armored, only 10 armor and no shields. But we'll have to see. Now, some summons actually going down like super early, but the Greenskins actually aren't advancing in. I'd really like to see the Skaven get aggressive here, but it looks like the Greenskins are starting to oblige by moving in.
Yeah, this does buy them some space in case they do route off, but it buys their archers a little bit less time to get their value. And
Yeah,
it's
and
looking
this
like a big
this big
engagement as
single
well.
entity squad is coming in now, and the Stone Troll's coming in as well. This is looks like going to be another big blob fight, but the Stone Trolls are completely unsupported in the center here. Their support really needs to get in there quick. Now the Packmaster is taking quite a bit of damage, and there is no burst healing from Throt. Ooh, nice Rival's Hide Talisman. That is actually a really nice use of that ability. And already one of the Stone Trolls is terror routing. Again, no Bob. So it looks like we're seeing a lot of Stone Trolls without Bob today, which not super common, I think. Maybe a little more common this patch than last, but yeah, they are at a huge risk of terror routing. Now, meanwhile, these Poison One Globadiers are getting so much value. Even against just this super cheap infantry, they're getting a ton of damage in.
They do get shut down by some fanatics though, and Plague Monks have to pull in to support them. But that is a lot of expensive greenskin infantry, and if those Globadiers can get more shots, then that would be big. But Spider
Yeah,
Riders
and
are in the back, and it looks like they're going to be shutting down the Skaven back line. Globadiers likely won't be much of an issue for the rest of the game.
yeah, and the Plague Monks not doing super well actually. You would expect them to do really well against this greenskin front line, but honestly, they're a little bit lackluster of a unit, I think, and that's showing here. Now, a big Wah coming out. This might be enough to turn the battle. However, this pocket of greenskins is isolated and surrounded, and if they go, then the chances of greenskins winning go.
Yeah, but Stone Trolls are still doing okay. And it looks like the Greenskins are pulling ahead on the infantry front with those Savage Orcs and Orc Boys. But wow, their leadership just plummeting. And I think that's just because we don't have Grom or the big boss of the Troll Hag close enough to support them. There's
Yeah,
also
however, the Skaven are routing like en masse, except for this one little blob here. And with that being the only thing left, there's not going to be any battlefield control for the Skaven. There will be nothing left to chase things off. The Packmaster, it looks like, might be routing off here. They need Stabbin coming down on it. And ooh, yeah, it actually routes.
yeah, and
So if
Greenskins
the
have
Greenskins
a
can chase
huge
them,
mobility advantage. They should be able to chase them off.
yeah. So I don't think that the thing and the Doomwheel are going to be able to hard carry this game. I mean, Skrulk is strong, but he's not like a super crazy combat lord. He really needs to get a ton of value with his spells if he wants to win this game.
Yeah, and in the late game, if it's just Skrulk, Grom should likely be able to cycle charge him down. And now it's looking like there's actually quite a large advantage for the Greenskins now, with a huge infantry advantage, and looks like it's just the single entities left for the Skaven. Just, let's see, an assassin, some rat ogres on the edges, but in the main fight, there's basically no support left. Some summons do go down of clan rats, will help, but only slightly. And without a mass route, it looks like this is likely a game from Skaven. Do you think there's
Yeah.
any way they can really pull it back from here?
No, not with Skrulk routing, definitely. And this is kind of funny. It's very similar to the first game, I think, where Valkonos had a little bit wider of a build, had maybe a little bit better single entity usage, and he's able to just beat up Zero's flanks and route off all of the supporting elements, and then beat him in the blob. So
Yeah.
pretty nice, impressive win there from Valkonos.
And this was pretty interesting because the greenskin build was very similar to the previous game that we saw, with the stone trolls focusing on the center and facing off against single entities. What do you think really went differently here, though, that caused the win for the greenskins this time?
Well, they had a wider front line and a lot cheaper of a front. Like they had probably about the same cost invested in the front line. It was just spread out more, which I think is maybe a little bit stronger. I think only having like 3 infantry units as greenskins is probably a mistake. And I mean, in general, I think the Skaven didn't get much use out of like their plague monks. Their poison wind globadiers did well, but that was kind of the only unit that was really performing up to par for them. And so they were just overwhelmed, over the course of their whole flank. I really think maybe the Skaven could have had another poison wind globadier. I don't know. It's it's difficult to say, but definitely Valkonos did a good job of attacking the weaker elements of the Skaven build, which I think Zero had. I think Valkonos just had a lot better battlefield control in both games, really.
Mm-hmm. The mobility advantage, and we really saw at the very least, at the very end, we saw that the infantry advantage from the greenskins was much higher than with the game against Norska, where sort of both infantry sides traded out evenly. And that definitely shows that a lot came into play by getting wins around the edges, and that definitely helped a lot for this victory.
So pretty standard, pretty typical. I do think that the Pterodon riders might be annoying here, given the deployment. They might get right on top of the field trebs, which would be pretty disastrous, actually. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, they
It
do
does
get
look like
pushed
the
back.
Bretonians, yeah, they are pushing him back with Lewin and the Paladin, which is pretty nice. However, the Bretonians are on a timer because eventually the Lizardmen are going to be able to push up into the trebuchets.
Yeah,
Now,
and the solar engines too can actually one-shot trebuchet models occasionally.
I am curious what the Peasant Bowmen are going to be targeting here. If they'll be targeting the solar engines, or if they're just going to, let the solar engines live and try to burst down some of the spearmen. I think both can work, but I don't know. It takes so long to kill solar engines because of their armor and the Peasant Bowmen not having any armor piercing.
Yeah, and
It looks like
healing
they're
too.
actually targeting Mazdamundi, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's an okay pick, but you'll have to actually finish him off, and that'll usually have to be Lewin that does the job there. Now,
Banishment going down on top of the Peasant Bowman. Not the greatest RNG, but not terrible RNG. It gets some damage in.
Yeah,
And
nearly routes him off.
predictably, Peasant Mom already being terrified, and the questing knights here getting caught out and countercharged by Mazdamundi, not really doing too hot.
Yeah, but Masamundi is a little bit overextended. Lewin does come in to dive, and while while we wait for this, we can take some time to just explain the general idea here. Lewin plus archer support will be able to take out Mazdamundi, and that is huge. But it depends on how well the Lizardmen, Papa Palpatine, can rout off the archers here. If the archers are shut down, Lewin can't really face up against Mazdamundi especially well. Not on his own anyways. And that's a lot of how this matchup will come down to. The solar engines will be able to punish knights, and the Sora Spears just make sure that no knights can really interfere with this duel. But getting back into the game, it looks like we do have some archers routing off.
Yeah, some archers routing off from solar engine fire. One of the trebuchets has been compromised, and the questing knights are really getting beaten up. A nice net traps some inside of Sara Spears, and questing knights really just do not do well into Sara Spears. Like in particular, it's why this matchup is so hard, because Sara Spears are just so good against pretty much everything that the Bretonnians have to offer. And Mazdamundi, he's getting focused, but he's still at over 4,000 HP, and now Lewin is kind of getting trapped up with him, and that is not where Lewin wants to be at all.
A heal does come down from the Damsel of Life, and Lewin does just barely manage to escape, but not without taking a lot of damage. Archers are back operational again though, and they're putting in pretty good damage on Mazdamundi. If that keeps up, this could be a problem for Lizardmen. But Lewin actually gets routed off. How did that happen?
He got caught up in the Legion of Chaqua, I guess. Pretty surprising all the same. Now, the Peasant Bowmen are all still pretty much operating, but I don't know if targeting Mazdamundi this whole time has been the best option, because he has 130 armor. They could have killed so many spear models in the meantime, and Mazdamundi, he is scary, but in the late game, he can get isolated and killed if you can remove all of his supporting elements. But instead, focusing directly on Mazdamundi, he's really just face tanking all of it, and he can heal all this back up. It will be slowly, because Apotheosis isn't really good for burst healing, but it will, be important over the course of the game.
Yeah, and we've sort of been glossing over this, but there have actually been a lot of spells going on to kill these questing knights that have been cycle charging in. And a big advantage of the infantry, a big advantage of killing the knights is that your infantry will be able to live. And before I finish that, I am glossing over this main engagement here with Lewin diving in on Mazdamundi.
Yeah, Lewin kind of trying to hard carry the game right now. They are both at about 2,000 HP, but Lewin has no support right here. So I don't see this going well for him, and in fact, he is getting pushed off. He gets some decent chip damage into Mazdamundi, but chip damage isn't enough. I mean, the Lizardmen are suffering HP damage while the Bretonnians are losing their entire army. It's not really an equal trade.
When he gets routed off again, is very rough. Also, since the first route, it also means that he lost his regeneration effect, which does go away after his leadership breaks. And with another shot from the solar engine, it's looking like this is a game sealed for the Lizardmen.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of a typical way for this matchup to go. Solar engines and Sara Spears are just so difficult for Bretonnia to deal with because of their lack of armor piercing and anti-infantry tools. Now, I'm trying to think, if the Bretonnians are able to somehow kill Mazdamundi right now, then their Peasant Bowmen still have quite a bit of ammo, so they could come back into the game. I mean, the solar engines, they will run out of ammo eventually, and they are late game terror pieces, but they can only do so much. So if Mazdamundi can escape here, I think the game is pretty much over. But if he is killed, then maybe the Bretonnians can come back into it.
Yep, he does get support from his spears, managing to flee back into them. And he is very likely just spamming Apotheosis on himself at this point, so he will be healing. The solar engines too do still have enough ammo, and with it, they're actually doing a lot of damage to that paladin.
Yeah. Now, the Pterodon Riders are getting cleaned up, which is kind of nice, but all of these Peasant Bowmen are running now from the Legion of Chaqua. The Bretonnians definitely need to go peel them off if they want to have a chance of winning this game, because they need the Peasant Bowmen back. Like, Obviously, they want to kill Mazdamundi, but they might be getting a little greedy here going for him. I mean, he does have healing. He has a few thousand HP still. He presumably has Shield of the Old Ones back soon.
Yeah, it could very well just be an all-in play from Lewin and the Paladin. Just trying to throw everything at the wall since he's already pretty far behind at this point. Another shot goes in on Lewin too, brings him down to 900 HP. And another route from him means that he'll shatter instead of just routing normally.
Oh boy. Now, getting onto the solar engines now, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like the play here right now for the Bretonnians is to go back and peel the Legion of Tretcherous off of the Peasant Bowman, but they aren't doing that. Instead, they're committing all in onto Mazdamundi right now, who is down to about 1200 HP. Lewin is actually doing pretty well against him here, and the Paladin, coming well.
too. And Mazdamundi goes down.
Now he uses Cold-Blooded, which is really nice. He would have routed, I think, otherwise. That's a really clutch play. However, he is going to route, actually.
Minus 12 leadership.
And wait a minute. The balance of power is evening. Mazdamundi is routing, and Lewin is getting out.
Yeah, but surprisingly enough, one of the solar engines is still alive, and it could very well snipe out the rest of the heroes. But it gets charged in by the Paladin. And...
oh my god.
Gets one shot on Lewin. Now, Paladin, if the Paladin routes, that is a lot less support for Lewin. And with 800 life, he might still die to the Bastiladons, but... oh man, this might be...
he needs to chase off Mazdamundi for sure.
Crazy comeback. Yeah, he's chasing off Mazdamundi.
He is doing it. And so, I mean, this questing night blob all of a sudden becomes difficult for the solar engines to deal with. Now, there isn't much to kill these spears. And there are spears on the outskirts of the battlefield. And I don't know, those might actually be what carries the day. Like the Star Chamber Guardians over here chasing off these field trebuchets. There's not going to be much to deal with them except for terror routes.
Yeah, and they still have 44 models, and with Lewin at heal cap, they're still extremely threatening. But Mazdamundi is gone. A shot does come in on Lewin, brings him down to 400 HP. And if he routes before killing Mazdamundi...
oh no, he shatters! And Mazdamundi...
oh dear.
I mean, if Mazdamundi comes back, that's game.
Yep.
No way. Come on. Oh,
okay.
I feel sick. That was almost such a good comeback.
Yeah, the rogue laser shot coming in from the Bastiladon, just finishing off Lewin. Actually looks like that's going to seal the fate for the Bretonnians.
Man. That feels terrible for the Bretonnians. Oh
jeez.
No. Really nice try from Butcherbird. That was really close actually, given the nature of the matchup and how far behind he fell early. Oh man.
And a very nice play actually getting that shot off was almost for sure intentional, since there was a lot of combat going on by those Bastiladons.
Oh yeah, no doubt. He must have had it on guard mode and targeting Lewin. There's no other way. That is crazy.
Okay.
And this shows why solar engines are so insane, because they are literally surrounded and getting wailed on by armor-piercing cavalry, and they just don't care. They just sit there and shoot and shoot and shoot and never rout. They are just such a good unit.
And not to mention the effectiveness of the spears too. They got almost all of them paid off for themselves. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. As for Chaos, we have some armored Chaos Trolls. Will be very good for cavalry that does not exist on the Empire side. And instead, they'll probably just be used to kill the single entities like the Paladins, the Empire Captains, and helping run over the infantry. As for the infantry of the Chaos, it's actually relatively cheap with a bunch of Marauders, except for one unit of Chosen and one unit of Mirror Guard, which are sort of overkill for this situation. There's also an interesting pick of many dog units, Chaos Poison Warhounds, and they don't have many targets either. In fact,
no.
Yeah, it seems like the Chaos build is sort of unoptimized for this sort of crazy Empire play.
At the same time, I'm kind of concerned for the Empire just because... okay, so this build has like a lot of tanky elements, but nothing to really do a ton of damage. Like, the war wagons are nice because they're tanky and they can stand in there without that much support compared to like outriders. And then they just have a ton of infantry support anyway. So it's gonna take a long time for Chaos to, you know, kill stuff, but I'm not sure. It'll take a long time for the Empire to kill stuff as well. And actually, the War Wagons getting caught by the Trolls is so unideal.
Yeah, one of them gets routed, and it
Yeah.
depends on if these models get lost. Looks like one of them does go down for one War Wagon, but the other two are looking like they're going to survive. It isn't a huge loss for the Empire, but having that much damage dealt to your wagons is not optimal.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what actually kills things in this Empire build. We'll have to see. Maybe
Yeah.
he's just gonna try and grind everything down. I guess the grenade launchers will do pretty well, but
They're going to have
there's
to be
not a
grenade
lot of
launchers.
killing power.
Oh, and a final transmutation comes in on Archaon, but he pulls away, which means that it'll be doing basically the minimum amount of damage.
I would really like to see him just go and try and kill Archaon right now. I mean, he has this goon squad for a reason, right? And there's not that much to punish the attempt.
Yeah, it'll be a
But-
bit scary with the Horsemen and the Warhounds, but if he can kill Archaon, that would be big. He is
That
at
would be
2/3
huge.
HP.
Burning Head coming down, it looks like, onto the Sigmar Sons, which actually will
Oh
not
my
do much
goodness.
friendly fire. Oh, wow, that is a great cast.
Yeah, that was basically a perfect Burning Head, but it does clip some Marauders.
Oh, it actually kills an entire Marauder unit, too. But hey, I mean, that's the nature of Burning Head, right? And I'd say that's a worthwhile trade all the same.
Yeah, taking out the entirety of the Sigmar Sons buys time for the Mirror Guard to continue pushing into the back line. And with the Mirror Guard taking out the Sigmar Sons, there's actually not a lot that they have to worry about. The elite infantry for the Chaos here could actually be pretty scary if these Outrider grenade launchers can't kill everything.
Yeah, and I mean, the Outrider grenade launchers don't really do armor-piercing damage anyway, so... This is so weird. Like, the Chaos are overwhelming the Empire on a number of flanks. It will definitely be a slow death for the Empire, but I don't know. I'm not sure what exactly they have that, like, beats the Chaos straight up. Like, it seems like their entire build just trades inefficiently into the Chaos build, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, the War Wagons will do okay, but now they're getting jumped on again by these Chaos Warhounds. And there's not a lot that can peel the Warhounds off now that so much of the infantry is gone. We also have
Yeah,
a
and
big
there's-
fight with the single entities on the left flank. Archaon fighting the Empire captains and just destroying one of them.
I think a final transmutation coming down, but it's not overcast this time, so it's not going to do that much. And oh god, that Burning Head kills 2 state troop units at once.
Yep, that is definitely huge. It moves on, looks like it's going to catch some halberds, and the second Empire captain getting routed off too. Now means that there's not a lot to kill Archaon.
Oh my god, the
Inside
Burning
war
Head
wagon.
just killed another state troop unit. It killed
Oh my
4 state
gosh.
troop units.
Wow,
What?
okay. And-
195 kills on Archaon now. That was almost entirely, I think, from that Burning Head, because the first one just killed the Sigmar Sons who were already low model. But yeah, that's crazy.
And now we're seeing one of the main downsides of the War Wagons. Even though they can stay alive and keep firing for a long time, they don't have enough punch to actually to stop the front line from collapsing.
Yeah, it's a really, like I said, it's just a weird build because state troops are nice because they can buy time and protect like handgunners or huntsmen or even outriders. War wagons are nice because they don't need stuff to protect them. So when you're taking both, like it just seems a little bit unoptimal.
Yeah.
Like with this many state, I mean, it's 11 state troops. You could easily peel off for huntsmen or handgunners with this build. So the war wagons are definitely a strange choice. And the double Empire captain is a cool idea. I think he was hoping to run into manticores or something. But it's not really ideal against this build, which doesn't have anything to goon. And I mean, Gelt, and especially the Empire captains, just kind of felt worthless this game. Like they just sat up in the sky. That's like 4,000 gold of funds, and all of your single entities just sitting up and not really doing anything is definitely not a great feeling for the Empire.
Sadly, the War Wagons having used up most of their ammunition, do begin going down without being able to stop the Chaos front line. Like we said earlier, fighting the Chaos head on is definitely rough for the Empire, and the War Wagons and the captains weren't really able to prevent that. That's GG.
GG, yep.
All right, now let's just take a quick look at Archaon here with his 200 kills. Got 3.5 thousand gold value off of those burning heads, and also killing the Empire captains.
The Empire captains, meanwhile, got a whopping 40 damage value combined. 40. 40.
Jeez. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and
yeah.
That is very, very rough. An interesting pick, but it definitely did not pay off here.
You asked about them compared to Paladins, and yeah, they just... I don't know why, actually. Their stat line isn't that bad. They don't have Guardian. They don't have Anti-Large, but their stat line isn't that terrible, but they just do not perform well. Like, in unit tests, they perform so badly.
And a comment about the War Wagons. We can take a look at their value here, and even though they used almost all of their ammunition, they still didn't really pay for themselves. And given that they had to be shooting the whole game, it means that their general impact was even less than the damage value is showing here. So too bad for them, and we'll be moving on to the next game now.
And yeah, it looks like it's going to come down a lot, I think, actually, to the Warp Fire Throwers and the Thing. The Warp Fire Throwers could roast a lot of, like, Berserkers and high-value targets, and otherwise, Skaven will really struggle, I think, to deal with this mass amount of infantry from Norska. They don't have a lot that counters infantry here. Like, they don't have any mortars. Their infantry will all die very quickly. So the Warp Fire Throwers definitely need to get value, I think.
Yeah, the infantry front line is definitely quite thin, mostly Skaven slaves. But as this game gets underway, of course, the skirmishing phase is pretty important, leading into the main phase. And it looks like these Berserkers are going to be taking some damage. A very good start for the Skaven. But these Gutter Runners are surrounded by quite a few Norscan forces.
Yeah, this is the problem with vanguarding Mosul troops on, you know, a matchup with Vanguard options for the opponent, is it can definitely come back to bite you. And these Gutter Runners are not cheap units, and they are getting chased down actually by the Ice Wolf chariots will be slowing them too, just making things go from bad to worse. Yep, and this is a lot of value to lose almost instantly. Oh boy.
Oh yeah, and a relatively okay start for the Skaven, turning extremely sour very quickly. Looks like all of these Gutter Runners might actually get killed here due to these wolves. Spirit Leech on the Plague Priest too is
yeah, that's a nice choice. Over the course of the game, the Plague Priest will be dying, and if it goes down, no more summons will be very problematic. And actually, this is really nice. He baits out the summon, and then he moves back, although he will move back into it. But yeah, I mean, doing a good job of mitigating that Clan Rat summon. And both Gutter Runners are now off the battlefield pretty much, so definitely not a great start for the Skaven here.
Oh, and now the mainline fighting has begun. Many of the Berserkers are getting caught up on Clan Rats, but Papa Palpatine, realizing this, pulls his infantry to the side, and it's looking like a very strong center from the Skaven will be able to push back these chariots. The main worry, of course, is their flanks.
Okay, so if the Thing can kill Throg right now with Tretch, then that could be a way right back into the game for Skaven, because Throg is really overextended right now. So that's what Skaven needs to do. They need to kill Throg. If they can do so, it might not be too bad, but the Warp Fire Thrower is already getting compromised. The Wolf Rat's getting charged by the Beasts of Tashnar, and the Northern Warhound's just going to instantly break them.
And
it looks like Throg just somehow walks out without taking any damage.
Yeah, some crazy math or maybe good positioning. Just completely avoiding basically all hits from the Thing. And now these Marauder Horsemen too will be peppering it with javelins. And all of a sudden this is looking very bad for Skaven, unless a crazy snipe can come down now.
Yeah, foot character meta confirmed. I mean, Throg just walks out of there without taking any damage. I don't know if that was good RNG too, because he just didn't get hit, but he was definitely taking attack animations from the thing.
Yeah, and now rat ogres getting charged by wolves are going to be having a very bad time. Throg putting in damage on the thing, and as we predicted, the Skaven lines are collapsing rather quickly due to the superior Norskin mobility.
And the Plague Priest actually getting gooned out by the Shaman Sorcerer of Death. The Shaman Sorcerer is not the melee variant of the caster for Norska, guys. This is like the regular human just walking up and killing this Plague Priest. What an absolute mad lad.
Yep. And leading to a massive rout from the Skaven too. This is looking like a decisive victory from Norska.
Yeah, the Skaven counterpick not working out. Tretch Craventail fittingly routs with full HP shatters. We can say it's from army losses, but let's not. He just shatters with full HP.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so that was definitely a very rough game for Skaven there. Norska just bringing in the mobility. You can see having just not having the mobility as a Skaven can definitely cause a lot of problems. Their units don't like getting charged, like the rat ogres, the wolf rats, and their Skaven slave frontline. And without enough forces to actually stop that from happening, that caused a lot of issues. A lot of the strength was put into the Hell Pit Abomination, which could really only cover one front. And yeah, that wasn't enough. It's very clean run over coming in from Norska.
Yep. Oh, actually, one Grail Knight and 4 Knights of the Realm. And then we have a front line with 4 men-at-arms of various sorts. It looks like 1 men-at-arms polearm, 2 men-at-arms, and actually 2 spearmen-at-arms. A few peasants. It looks like no peasant bowmen, interestingly enough. We see Lewin Leoncoeur and a Damsel of Life with Regrowth and Earthblood.
Okay, so all that out of the way, how do you think the Bretonnian player will have to play to get a win here? For Norska, it's mostly taking good engagements. So I'm interested to see what your thoughts on the winning play for Bretonnia is.
It's definitely just a lot of effective cycle charging. That's kind of a cheater answer because that's always the case with Bretonnia, but especially in this case, without like peasant bowmen, they just need to cycle charge, and get rid of all the infantry so that way they can engage in like a late game blob. Now the human archers are an interesting pick. You don't have to protect them like peasant bowmen, so they're kind of nice in that way because, you know, Norska can very easily overwhelm the Bretonnian front line. And it looks like Lewin is actually getting pretty aggressive here in the back, maybe going after some berserkers. No, not yet.
Let's see. Like a little bit of freezing, but yeah, getting a few shots in on the berserkers, pushing back the reserved skirmishing force for Norska is looking like an okay start for Bretonnia, but I don't know if they can take on this frontline fight. The 4 berserkers are actually pretty scary for all of this Bretonnian infantry. But charging from the knights will be able to punish them. It's really actually, I think it's the Fimir. There's not a whole lot Bretonnia can do against the Fimir warriors here, aside from charging in with Lewin. Which
well,
looks
speaking
like
of which, he's going for a big goon.
Yeah, and the knights charge in towards the berserkers too.
Lewin needs to be careful here because Throg is coming.
Yeah, and so far this is looking like it might be a bad engagement for Bretonnia, especially with the skirmishers having the advantage here. Means that the knights will be taking damage from the back. The Fimir are putting in a lot of damage too, although taking some in turn.
Yeah, it looks like one Fimir might actually get picked off here, which would be a worth trade if it's just for 1 Knights of the Realm. It's kind of an ugly play, but it might actually work out pretty well because the Famir are down to almost no HP and they've lost over half their models now. So actually a pretty nice start for Bretonia there, I think. It looked ugly, but it worked out.
Not to mention these berserkers have been getting cycle charged too. And that is a very important unit here for Norska to be losing. So
Yeah,
that
now
could
one
swing
human
things wildly.
archer and one horseman each get killed. Um, Kind of an interesting trade. One of the Knights of the Realm actually do rout off, which is unfortunate timing. They were about to collapse into some Marauder horsemen. But now this big fight along the front line has started, and cycle charging has begun. Spirit Leech going down continuously on knights is nice. It'll definitely get some guaranteed value over the course of the game. And one of the Knights of the Realm kind of getting thrown away here, I think, overextending into Throg and these Famir. And the Damsel of Life also actually in some danger, but it looks like she will get out.
Yeah, and so far, I'm a bit worried about the Norskin right flank. The cavalry is cycle charging in, and if they can win the right flank for Bretonia, that would be pretty bad uh, for Valkonos here. Since once he gets swarmed by infantry, it means Lewin can cycle charge as much as he wants.
Yeah, and one of the Marauders is already buckling, and the Berserkers over there are also dying pretty quickly just to Spearmen at Arms supported by Knights of the Realm. The Knights of the Realm have been cycle charging pretty effectively. It's been nice usage, but they are slowly getting worn down. Um, Bretonia, I don't know if they're actually coming out ahead on those trades or not, but it's not too bad, but it's not too great either. It's definitely a lot of trading back and forth.
Yeah, and now we're seeing the center for Norska actually coming out ahead as these Grail Knights get routed off. But the right flank is about to fall, but those Berserkers with their fighting buff actually get an increase to their leadership, which means that they'll be cutting down those Spearmen pretty quickly. And as long as they keep fighting, that's good for Norska here. As for the cavalry for Bretonia, it's looking very battered after the most recent engagement. And although Lewin is still very healthy, we also have a lot of skirmishers for Norska. And if he ever lands, they'll be able to get in a lot of damage.
Yeah, these javelins just chipping away over the course of the game against the cavalry, against Lewin, against everything. Doing some pretty good work. Now Lewin coming in for a big dive onto these Mist Stalkers, and this whole almost all of the Norscan army is right around him right now. So this could be dangerous. He is getting surrounded by some Famir with great weapons, and if Lewin dies here, that would pretty much be game over. But some nice support coming in now with the Grail Knights and the Knights of the Realm charging in, and a big sort of Corone coming in, and this could be what turns the game in the favor of the Bretonians right here.
Yeah, loads of different spells going down. I think Spirit Leech on Noah, some armor sundering on the Knights of the Realm will help with the fight a bit. But Lewin's taking a lot of damage, and this time the Miststalkers are holding up a lot better than the Fimir earlier in the game.
Yeah, a good point by Palpatine in chat that they can't get terror routed, the Miststalkers, so they will stand in there quite a bit longer against Lewin. And yeah, Lewin getting hit in the back by Throg and getting surrounded by Fimir is down to half HP, which isn't disastrous, but it's not great. Um, and the Bretonians are really just running out of stuff to throw at the Norscan blob.
Yeah, and a big threat with these Miststalkers too is that they're terror routing a lot of these troops. And like I always say, infantry support is extremely important. With just some battered knights left, they only have a few more charges before they get taken out.
Mm-hmm.
Knights of
And
the
you can
Realm?
see the Grail Knights and the Knights of the Realm all by themselves now, getting pushed back, getting pushed off. Uh, Lewin could potentially carry this game. He definitely needs some big terror routes, but Norska is kind of running low on stuff, and Throg is not immune to psychology. So in the late game, he could get terror routed by Lewin.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. In a straight up fight though, Throg will be able to to fight very well with his anti-large. And as long as he stays healthy, I think Lewin will have to be afraid of taking an engage there. Another large engagement with these battered troops begins, with the Berserkers taking a very advantaged fight. First, the men-at-arms, but as I say that, a nice charge in the back could get them routed, but perhaps not. And there are now very few troops for Bretonia.
Now these Famir are kind of in a pocket isolated a little bit from Throg, and a really nice charge with like really good angles coming in from Bretonia to isolate the Miststalkers. If he can rot them off, that might be enough to actually turn this game back in Bretonia's favor. And it looks like Lewin also diving in now. Uh, he could probably be targeting a little better, but honestly, it seems pretty even to me right now. Like I actually think Bretonia might be pulling ahead.
Yeah, there were some big terror routes, but the actual elite cavalry here is able to stay in the fight. Well, just a moderate cavalry, but nevertheless, they keep on fighting. And there's actually not left. There's not a lot of support left for Norska here, except for these Marauder horsemen. So we're going to
Yeah,
have to
really
see if they
nice
can
cycle
win up the day.
charging. Really nice cycle charging over the course of this long game is starting to pay itself off. And Lewin, when his buffs come back online, that'll be a huge moment for Bretonia. I actually kind of wish they would slow down this game a bit and just wait for Lewin's buffs to come back and then go back in, because they don't really have armor piercing. So the Sword of Corone is huge, even huger than it normally would be if they had questing knights.
Yeah,
But
but
they are committing pretty heavily right now.
he does have to worry
Oh,
about
here
these
comes.
Marauder horsemen, though, and their skirmish potential. And another
Yeah, and they are
charge
charging
comes
in the back of the mounted Yemen archers, which is pretty huge. And if Lewin gets surrounded by them, it'll be hard for him to actually kill Throg.
And these these Marauder horsemen just being at such high HP is making a very big impact here. Even though the infantry is gone, the horsemen's support proving to be extremely effective. And Throg gets another big hit on Lewin. And with him nearly at his healing cap and another big hit, I think
boy.
this is likely gonna be it for Bretonia.
Yeah, it's all of the support for the Bretonians is pretty much gone. All of the knights have been slowly ground down into oblivion. And Lewin by himself, there's just too much left for him to actually kill. I think he could do okay against Throg in isolation with just a little bit of support. But yeah, the Norskins are actually winning out with the rest of the army. And Lewin can't like kill everything here, I don't think. He is a very strong character, but that's a little bit too much to ask.
Yeah, especially now that he's heal capped, he's gonna be having a hard time. As for the rest of the Bretonian forces, just looking around the map, they're basically all routed at this point, and there's not much left. So it's just gonna come down to this final fight, trying to take out Lewin. But the horsemen do provide a lot of mass. Throg puts in the damage, and as long as he gets caught, that should be it. We have seen very close comebacks from Bretonia before, though, so it may be a bit early to call it. If he can just get some crazy snipes on Throg, that would probably be it.
He needs some insane RNG, though, because all of his supporting elements are gone now. And you can see Norski even has some troops coming back. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Bretonia is pretty much run out of steam here.
Ooh, and a big hit on that damsel brings her low. A bad charge, too, from Lewin. Puts him in a pretty rough position, but he hits Throg, who looks like he might manage to escape. Perhaps opting for a fight instead. We'll have to see. It looks like he's turned to try and escape, though. As I say that, he turns around and let's see how this goes. Throg does need to be getting in damage. The horsemen don't do much to Lewin, and it's all gonna have to come down to Throg. Looks like he's having a hard time actually getting an attack in too, but finally he throws in a kick, and the final fight is underway.
Ooh, Throg getting back-to-back huge hits. Ooh, another one. Man, Throg, clearly the overpowered lord in this encounter, will take Lewin to Pound Town. And that ended quickly, man.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the late game came down to just having all those skirmishers alive. I think Valkonos did especially well there. Having them in the late game to support Throg really helped them out after the Fimir and the Berserkers got routed off.
Oh my god, yeah. Look at the Marauder Horseman value. One had almost 1300, another had almost 1300, and the one of the Marauder Horse Bastard has 1600 of damage value. That
Yeah,
is
some
insane.
very, very good play from them. And really showing that skirmishers are extremely strong. Not to mention Throg with his solid 3,300 damage value, beating out a lot of the combined damage values of Bretonia there. Yeah, did quite well. As for the cavalry, they did good, but after trading out against Norskin's Premier, they just didn't have enough to help out in the late game.
Interestingly, and 2 Chaos Marauders. We do have double Chaos Feral Manticore who will really struggle against the Vindictive Glare. That's actually quite a cool pick. I'm assuming that's what he brought that for. And then we also see a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Metal with Final Transmutation, Plague of Rust, and I believe that's what is that called? It's the rain spell, the metal rain spell.
Oh,
Searing Dew.
yeah.
So yeah, pretty much as expected, I'd say, actually, from both sides. The Hell Cannon, I don't know if I actually covered that, but the Hell Cannon is a cool pick as well. Guarded by some Mirror Guard. And it'll be getting good value as long as it's shooting into Black Orcs.
And it looks like that is indeed what it's targeting. But with an artillery piece, it means that the skirmish force of chaos here has a limited timer, and they need to be getting in their value as quickly as possible. Finding it presumably by firing in on these trolls. It's actually a pretty good start for chaos. On the left flank, the greenskins.
This is a nice pick.
Yeah, a huge engagement onto that weak mobile force for the greenskins. Actually gonna rout off a lot of the troops there. That is quite huge.
And the trolls also getting harassed pretty effectively by some horse masters. The horsemen of throwing axes, I do wonder what they're going to be targeting. I imagine it's Black Orcs, but the trolls wouldn't be a bad target either, just because they are very squishy. But I imagine we'll be seeing a big volley into some Black Orcs here, and indeed, wow, that is insane damage.
Yeah, that is quite huge. We're seeing these horsemen doing extremely well. And even though the Chaos front line is very cheap and will likely crumble to the greenskins, they haven't seen combat yet. And yeah, if
big shot from the Hell Cannon there, killing another like 6 Black Orcs, and every Black Orc model is important in this matchup. And man, so many Black Orcs are dying so quickly. It's actually crazy. Now, the Feral Manticores do need to come back and help support this front line. And this is definitely not like a simple game for Chaos to win. They need to be kiting. They need to be picking engagements that are going to be favorable to them. Now, they are moving in Marauder Great Weapons against the Black Orcs, which is a really nice pick. Because the Black Orcs, their armor piercing is going to be wasted here, and their armor is also going to be wasted here. So, pretty much ideal engagements so far for the Chaos. And yeah, I don't know, man. This is looking really rough. These Black Orcs are getting ground into dust so quickly, and a huge Final Transmutation Overcast going down, hitting so much. Oh my god, a Black Orc, 2 Trolls, Grom, the Orc Boys. That is insane value on that Final Transmutation cast.
Yeah, it looked like the greenskins were gonna push through the front line until that went down.
Oh my god, suddenly the trolls are routing.
It's looking real bad.
Wow, what a nice cast. That is a ton of patience to wait for all those units to blob up. He recognizes that the greenskins kind of have this front line that needs to stack on top of itself to be effective. Waits until it fully engages and then pops the Final Transmutation. And man, this is looking like a really quick and decisive game.
Yep, balance of power moving more and more into the Chaos advantage. Left flank is secured, and all of the Marauder horsemen are still operational. Vindictive Glare, oh, it doesn't even take out the Hell Cannon.
Oof.
And that is extremely rough. Now,
I mean, these throwing axes can kill everything. Like, they are just destroying the Black Orcs. I didn't even think about them, really. It's more common, I think, that you see just mass javelins. But the throwing axes are a brilliant pick just to nuke Black Orcs without even having to use Plague of Rust on them.
Yeah, a very nice tech pick versus the Black Orcs. In fact, a lot of the tools here seemed ready to face this type of greenskin build.
Yeah, this is. I think it's relatively meta on the chaos side in general. The great weapons are a really nice pick. The throwing axes are a really nice pick. He definitely read what Valkonos was going to be bringing, which is, I mean, it's a pretty common pick just to spam Black Orcs in this matchup.
Mhm.
But man, I mean, it's a great job of Palpatine to come in and just hard counter it like that.
Oh, Valkonos still scrapping it out. He has taken out the Hell Cannon. But the Black Orcs, like you said, are likely not going to get much value. The Horsemen do have enough ammunition to take them out, which is big. And even though a very nice Fanatic Bomb on the Mirror Guard does go down, it's likely not enough. The main threat here, I guess, if I had to give Greenskins a fighting chance, would be Grom. The Horsemen could run out of ammunition, and perhaps then Grom would be able to take some fights.
I
But
think the
yeah.
Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Metal could actually fight him too.
Oh, really?
I don't think the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Metal on a horse is like that bad of a combatant, especially with the Feral Manticore support. It'd be a pretty easy win for him.
Especially with one healthy Manticore, and as long as Grom isn't cycle charging, they should be fine. As I say that,
this is looking like a very decisive win as the throwing axe is coming in, nuking down what's remaining for the Greenskins, and that'll be
Ooh.
game one, going to Palpatine, really showing that he knows his stuff with Chaos. Definitely proving a true main.
There was a lot of special tech there too. I don't know if you saw it, but a Plague of Rust coming down on Grom too brought his armor down to 40, basically nothing, and that helped contribute to that final rout at the end. That was decisive.
Very, very nice game from Palpatine.
Yeah, and just taking a look at those horsemen, you rarely see a game where these horsemen don't pay for themselves.
Yeah, I know.
Hell Cannon too, actually doing very well. Same with the Manticores, and that Chaos Sorcerer Lord with 1700 damage off of that, like mostly off of that final transmutation.
Yeah, almost entirely off of that one final transmutation, and that was, I think, when the game went from in the Chaos favor to decisively in the Chaos favor.
Also muted during my introduction, but you guys get the gist of it. It's a huge skirmish Empire force with a lot of knights to cycle charge the infantry. So this game begins, and let's see how well the skirmishing goes. If
It'll be a long one, I think.
Oh yeah,
we'll have to see. Oh man, the Pistoliers struggling to get line of sight, almost get charged by Warhounds because of it. This hill in the middle is a little bit awkward for them because they have guns, not bows. So
yeah, and I think Palpatine will probably want to stray away from the hill at some point. There's also the Beast of Tashnar, very high missile resist, and that could pose some problems too. It really depends on if Norska can either catch the Pistoliers or run them out of ammo. Of course, they do have a lot of ammunition though, numbering at 12 shots, means that the fighting will go on for a while, and with their cavalry support, it's gonna be pretty rough.
now Franz looks like trying to get bursted here, but
Nice dodge.
He accidentally dodges. But
Yeah.
An accidental dodge is a dodge all the same.
Ooh, grenade launchers coming in too. Hit the horsemen for a bit before getting pushed back by hounds.
I think their ideal target are the Berserker or the front line of Marauders, but shooting at Skirmish Cav isn't too bad either. And the Beast of Tashnar getting sandwiched between Knights of the Blazing Sun and Franz. That is not good for them, as they will instantly get routed. And they should get chased off. I mean, Empire has absolute battlefield control pretty much. Now, these other Norscan Warhounds also getting routed. Really nice start from the Empire. This is kind of what you expect to see. Empire getting picks, but it's up to Norska to punish them for it. And they haven't really so far. Now, the Deathcaster is a pretty nice pick here. It can just continuously Spirit Leech. I think it should Spirit Leech the Knights of the Blazing Sun, because the Demigryph Knights will get just healed up because it won't actually take models off them, whereas it'll take models off of the Knights of the Blazing Sun. Although, actually, now that I think about it, the Knights of the Blazing Sun with their magic resist also will not be getting models taken off of them from the Spirit Leech, I believe. So
Yeah.
maybe the Empire Knights even.
Very, like, yeah, it really shows why Knights of the Blazing Sun are good against Norska. Their Spirit Leech, the main anti-skirmish tool, is great,
Ooh,
but
this could be a really nice pick from the Norskins. They are getting engaged onto these Pistoliers, and a lot of Pistolier models going down.
it's like
Maybe
one of them
straying
might
a
get
bit too
routed.
far from their support here.
Yeah, there's not a lot of cavalry, but they do just manage to stick together, with only a handful of models getting taken out, maybe about a dozen.
Yeah, and I guess during this quick pause, we can talk about the decision to Spirit Leech Franz. What do you think about that? I think it's surprising, but I mean, over the course of the game, it'll definitely be, taking a lot of his heal cap up.
Yeah, in the late game, we do expect Franz to be the one fighting Wolfric and taking him out at the end. He's also very important to rout off the ice trolls. So if he does get heal capped and brought pretty low, we could expect Wolfric to actually win the fight against him. He has a lot of tools, like a Hunter of Champions, to bring him low, and a kill on Franz would actually be pretty big.
Yeah, these grenade launchers, pretty much uncontested right now. Doing a ton of work into the front line, and ooh man, the Pistolier is also doing really well into the throwing axes.
Yeah,
And
and if that keeps up, he wouldn't even need Franz.
yeah, it's good trades across the board for the Empire so far, but that's kind of expected again. I mean, that's sort of the gist of this kite play style, is that it's difficult for Norska to really answer. Now the Knights of the Blazing Sun are taking some big damage from the throwing axes. They are charging in, and they might actually catch some of these throwing axes here, which would be a really nice pick.
Yeah, if we look at
Ooh, but
the
they
speed
turn back,
values.
and I don't know. I think he maybe should have just sacrificed them to try and get damage in, because now their backs are turned, their shields aren't in effect, and they took a ton of damage there for nothing.
Yeah, and Papa Palpatine definitely needs those knights for the late game to be charging infantry once ammunition runs out.
He is actually cycle charging now, which is good. He needs to be cycle charging kind of continuously. The Norskins will have trouble guarding their entire formation against cycle charging, just because of how, they only have trolls really to countercharge, and maybe Wolfric. And they don't have any slowing tools. So 2 of the chaff units already gone. Oh, a really nice boat.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Not much. It's it got nerfed.
Yep.
It would have been really big last patch, but Now in the meantime, these Pistoliers are actually getting caught by the Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, and Valkonos is doing a really good job actually trading up in this skirmish game over here. It's kind of surprising.
Yeah, despite losing those Warhounds, he's still doing very well. A unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun, too, are taking a lot of damage from those axes. And that is not really optimal versus them. But man, another unit of Pistoliers getting caught. That
Yeah.
is great for Valkonos here.
Yeah, and if it weren't for the Knights of the Blazing Sun, I would say that the Empire is trading up here, because Pistoliers are, of course, cheaper than Marauder Horsemen. But the Knights of the Blazing Sun are an expensive unit, so them getting caught out as well is quite nice.
Yeah, balance of power. Still says things are equal, though. But in a kite skirmish game like this, not the best thing to rely on. Meanwhile, we're seeing Franz, I think getting some heals maybe, or Spirit Leeched again. And let's see, if Palpatine realizes that many of his knight models survived the last what's it? The boat from Wolfric, he could actually heal up there too.
Yeah, so this is kind of a game about win conditions, I'd say. And a lot of this is going to come down to, so Franz and the Royal Outdoor Griffites have terror for the trolls. If he can terror out off the trolls, that'll be so big, and that would probably be enough to win the game. So he just needs to get rid of all of the support for those trolls, which is the Marauders, basically. And if he can get rid of all the Marauders effectively, then he'll win the game. Now, he is charging 1 unit, but he's getting counter-charged by Norscan Ice Trolls, which is exactly what Norscan needs to be doing. Is just counter-charging. Whenever Empire comes in, you punish them.
Yeah, and then that was quite an inefficient trade there, getting those knights routed off. And now we're moving into the later stages of this kite game. There are
Yeah,
still skirmishers on both sides, very battered, and we expect them to trade about evenly into each other, but the big fight gets started about now. A
yeah.
lot of
Now,
charging.
Empire can probably rout off these marauders that are isolated, um, and avoid this big blob in the center, which is what I think they should be doing. Ooh, going for a pick on the shaman sorcerer is actually potentially quite huge.
Yeah, and a big
And
charge
ooh,
in the
a
back
big
with the knights.
surround, and oh my god, everything routing all of a sudden.
Not to mention the heal. Altdorf Griffites are coming in too, which means trolls will be having a very hard
Oh,
time.
the Norscan ice trolls get terror routed
Oh
at
wow, and
full
that
HP,
is
both of
a
them. That's
huge route.
so big. Oh man, that is, I think, probably game over.
Yeah, that
As long as
was
the Empire chases them off. That was such a decisive engagement and a really nice job, really patient from the Empire. Yeah, Norska just didn't really have enough to punish the Outriders with grenade launchers. And grenade launchers are a unit that if you allow them to fire all game, they will win the game for you. Like they didn't necessarily get an insane damage value score. I'm not sure what it would be, but they killed all of the marauders, and without them, the trolls were just so easy to terror out. And Wolfric, of course, can't stand in by himself.
yeah, it's just Wolfric and the Skinwolf Werkin at this point in the game, and the Werkin is alone and surrounded by the Demogryph Knights here. Wolfric can't take the fight versus Karl Franz, and I think it's going to be a 2-0 victory for Papa Palpatine here.
Yeah, very decisive, very well played.
Yeah, and
Um,
that engagement was honestly just beautiful watching that go down. The
uh
bait
huh.
with Franz into the rear charges and then a mass rout, that was extremely decisive.
Yeah, very, very well played. Definitely showing a great understanding of these matchups.
And there we
And
go.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough matchup for Norska to be sure. I think Valkonos was expecting something else, though. I think he was expecting sort of that spear box and was
Hmm.
caught off guard with the full mobility build from the Empire. And the grenade launchers got 2,000 damage. So they actually showed their worth in that score as well. But it's even more important than just having 2,000 damage value. It's that they got rid of all of the support for Norska and it left the trolls completely isolated and able to be terror routed off. So
Yeah, and we're seeing here uh just that skirmish play going out very well too. If you look at the two Warhounds for Norska, they both got 0 damage out of that game. That's a 1,000 gold deficit getting charged by knights, and not a lot really paying off for Norska here.
yeah, definitely a slow, painful death for Norska. They didn't have a ton to deal with the skirmish. I think what lost them the game, though, ultimately was just getting those Warhounds picked for free at the very beginning. As frustrating as that may be, once that happened, they really didn't have much to punish Empire. So, and maybe they could have used their magic a little bit more effectively as well. I don't think the Spirit Legions onto Friends were all that impactful.
Hmm. Definitely more on the knights or the skirmishers could have helped out a lot. But there we go. That's GG for Papa Palpatine here. And in the end,